Hello everyone and welcome to Midlife Crisis, the show where I talk about every single major DC crossover event in chronological order. The last couple of weeks we've been covering the series Countdown, and this week we are going to begin covering all of the tie-in miniseries to Countdown. So if you haven't watched the Countdown videos, I recommend going back and watching those because you need the context to kind of understand what's going on in these miniseries that I'm going to be talking about. The first miniseries that we're going to be talking about is Countdown Arena, written by Keith Champagne with art by Scott McDaniel and Andy Owen. I'm usually a big fan of Scott McDaniel's art. I've been reading Chuck Dixon's Nightwing run, which he does the art for. And in that series, his art is normally inked by Kyle Story, and it looks really good. But in this, it's inked by a different person, Andy Owens. And Scott McDaniel's art looks significantly worse in this, so either Scott himself was in a rush, or Andy Owen just isn't a good fit for Scott. I imagine it's probably the latter, because it's very common for inkers to be paired up with an artist that they just don't jam with, and the art ends up looking worse than it could be. I have a feeling that it's one of those situations. Countdown Arena follows the character Monarch as he travels throughout the multiverse, finding different versions of DC characters and pitting them together in fights in order to build an army that he can use to take over the multiverse. Whoever wins the fights will be inducted into his army. And that's it really, the premise is as simple as that, so without further ado, let's just get straight into Countdown Arena. And please like and subscribe if you enjoyed these videos. Our story begins on Earth 19, which is the Gotham by Gaslight universe, which is an Earth that remained in Victorian times indefinitely. Their version of Batman is currently hunting down the Double Man, which is his version of Two-Face, but that's when a mysterious vortex opens up and he is sucked into it. Earth 21, which is featured in the series Justice League: The New Frontier, is an Earth that is heavily inspired by the Golden Age and Silver Age of heroes, and they never went past those ages. The Wonder Woman of this Earth is fighting her version of Steve Trevor, who has been taken over by the character Shang-Tzu, but he gets ripped apart by a massive laser, and that laser is from Monarch. He shows up on Earth 21, kills Steve Trevor, and for some reason this version of Wonder Woman still attacks Steve as if he's still alive, even though his dead body is clearly on the ground right in front of her, but Monarch teleports her away before she can do anything. We then visit Earth 12, which is supposed to be the Earth from Batman Beyond, where we see Earth 12's versions of Firestorm and Green Lantern. There is a different Green Lantern in the Batman Beyond show, but this is a different one. This one is supposedly Hal Jordan, but he also talks about having a Grandpa Hal, so I guess there's multiple Hal Jordans. Apparently there's 7 of them. This Hal Jordan gets taken away by Monarch, and Monarch tells Firestorm that he may come for him someday. We then cut to Earth 31, which is the Earth from the Frank Miller Batman universe, which includes The Dark Knight Returns, and All-Star Batman and Robin the Boy Wonder, and Batman Year One is also a part of that universe, while also being a part of the main universe as well, or the main Earth. It's a little confusing. The Superman of this Earth is currently working for President Luthor, because Luthor is the president on that Earth. But Monarch shows up and grabs this Superman and teleports him away like all the other variants. We then cut to the Bleed, which is Monarch's home base, where Earth 31 Superman wakes up and comes face to face with Earth 21 Wonder Woman, who then introduces him to all the other variants that have been kidnapped by Monarch. And so we see this massive shot of all these variants of different characters, and I noticed that there is one variant which is Cyborg, and he is the only one that represents the JL Apes universe, which is a universe where all of the Justice League were turned into apes. Choosing to make Cyborg be the ape representation, that's a choice. While the variants talk about what could possibly be going on, a massive wave of energy shoots through the room, killing a whole ton of the variants. Monarch shows up and is like, "My name is Monarch. I trust I've captured your full attention." Like he just killed all those people just to get everyone's attention. This upsets all of the Supermen, so they all attack Monarch, but he just swats them away with his hands, easy peasy. "I've chosen each of you from throughout the 52 universes. That still leaves me with 49 potential replacements to serve the same purpose. In other words, do not make me mad." Monarch explains to them that he's trying to build an army to take over the multiverse, so he's going to hold an arena battle between all these variants, and whoever wins each fight gets to join his army, and the rest die. And so our first battle is very quickly underway, with 3 different versions of Eve Eden. In the main universe, her name is Nightshade, and the other 2 variants of her are called Shade and Lady Shadow. It gives off major Raven vibes. Lady Shadow and Nightshade are both heroic people, but the Shade is evil, so she immediately tries to kill the other 2. She rips off all of the limbs of Nightshade after Nightshade attacks her, and I think this is Nightshade's official death. This is the one from the main Earth, so she just dies unceremoniously here. Shade then goes to kill Lady Shadow, but Lady Shadow shoots a whole bunch of dark energy at her, pulling her into a dark vortex, and Shade ends up in the Shadowlands. There, Lady Shadow begins tormenting her and torturing her before straight up cutting her head off. Just goes. She then denounces this whole arena idea, mocks Shade's head, and drops it on the floor as she leaves for her Earth again. Just like, screw this, I'm out of here, like, screw you, Monarch. But as soon as she gets to her Earth, Monarch shows up and is like, "You shouldn't have done that. The number 1 rule was that you can't leave the arena without my authority." And then he blows up the entirety of her home country on her Earth, killing everyone. And then as punishment, he forces her to join his army anyway, so that she has to watch him kill even more people. So he sends a message through to the other variants, and is like, "See? This is what happens when you go against my wishes and break the rules." The different Supermen try to come up with a plan. The idea is that they will play along with Monarch's little game until they figure out a way to take him down. The Supermen believe that their battle will be early on, but Monarch shows up and says, "No, I'm saving you for the end so that you can see that this isn't just some kind of death trap. I really am trying to save the multiverse in my own way, because I believe that saving the multiverse equals me taking over it." And he drops off Nightshade's body with its arms and legs separated. I'm pretty sure she's dead, but maybe she isn't. I don't know. I looked up her character profile, and there's no history of her ever being in this book. I honestly just think not enough people have read it to even update the wiki. He then teleports 3 of the Batman variants to the arena, these 3 being Gotham by Gaslight Batman, Vampire Batman from the Red Rain universe, and a version of Batman from a series called JLA Liberty Files, who looks exactly like Gotham by Gaslight Batman, and I swear I kept getting them mixed up. Gotham by Gaslight Batman is the one that doesn't have goggles, while the one with goggles isn't Gotham by Gaslight Batman. That's the Liberty Files Batman. You'd think it'd be the other way round, but apparently not. The other 2 Batmen immediately turn against Vampire Batman because Vampire Batman just wants to eat the both of them and suck out all their blood. So they throw a couple of knives in his eyes, then shove him in even further. Then one of them shoves a cyanide capsule in his mouth, which bursts, causing him to cough. And then they elbow him in the face. They grab one of the knives, believing that they can use it as a stake to kill Vampire Batman, but Vampire Batman manages to teleport out just in time. And so the two remaining Batmen fight each other. While they are fighting, black smoke appears, which is supposed to be Vampire Batman. So one of the Batmen tries to save the other one, but Vampire Batman just sucks out their blood. He grabs them and bites both of their throats and then goes to finish them off, but Monarch shows up and stops him, but pretty much confirms that these two versions of Batman are dead. Like, Gotham by Gaslight Batman and the Liberty Files Batman are both dead. And Vampire Batman is inducted into his army. And so after all that, Superman is like, that's it, I refuse to watch us all die one at a time. Starting this instant, I'm putting Monarch on notice. That cold-hearted despot is going to pay. Now, who's with me? To be continued. The captured variants plan to take down Monarch, and so Superman asks the other variants if they are in on this plan. We get a 2-page splash page of the variants agreeing to Superman's plan. There's a couple of things that we need to make note of here. There's one variant of Blue Beetle called Ted, who looks like a humanoid beetle. He's currently building something that'll help them take down Monarch. There is another version of Blue Beetle called Danny, who warns everyone that the scarab that's in his back is talking to this dude made out of scarabs who goes by the name Scarab. He says that it's really freaking him out. These downtime moments tend to play out the same way every time, where the variants that are going to be fighting each other next or at some point just don't get along and start arguing, and then somebody has to come in and break up the argument. Right now it's 3 different versions of Superman, and their argument is broken up by a version of Ray Palmer, who is revealed to be the Ray on his Earth. So this Ray Palmer is the Ray, which means he is the definitive version of the Ray. Monarch returns and dumps off the 2 bodies of the Batmen that were killed by Vampire Batman, and he refuses to tell the variants what he did with the Vampire Batman. He then blasts everyone in the room with a field of energy just to show them once again why they shouldn't be trying to form a mutiny, because it's useless. They can't defeat him. The next arena battle then begins, this time between Ray Palmer the Ray, Apollo, and Earth X the Ray, who is a Nazi. Apollo is from the team known as the Authority, which is from Wildstorm Comics. He has similar powers to Superman. Nazi Ray tries to escape from the arena but can't bust his way through, so instead he tries to fight the other 2 and kill them so that he can get free. But Ray Palmer convinces him that he can help him get out of the arena. All he needs to do is change his physical body into a different kind of light, and he'll be able to travel straight through the arena ceiling. Nazi Ray does that and he makes it outside, but Monarch sees him and just destroys him. And it's revealed that Ray sent him out there to die on purpose because he's a Nazi. He's like, yeah, take that, you Nazi scum. Apollo tries to kill Ray Palmer, but Ray tries to convince him to work together because he says that he'll be able to figure out a way to stop Monarch at some point. They just gotta work together. But Apollo just won't listen, and so Ray shrinks, enters Apollo's body, and blasts him from the inside, not killing him, but knocking him out. As Monarch shows up to induct Ray into his army, Ray states that he's going to beat Monarch sometime, and Monarch's like, yeah, that's great, anyway, see ya, and teleports him away. The next arena battle then begins when the 3 versions of Blue Beetle are sent to the arena. Danny's Scarab leaves his body and joins the Scarab humanoid thing. Then all the Scarabs begin crawling over his body, eating him alive, and Ted smashes his arm in trying to save Danny, and all he pulls out is what's left of Danny's hand. Then we get a shot of Danny's skeleton as it's being eaten by scarabs. It's pretty gross. I saw this and I was just like, ugh. Ted fights the scarab, grabbing a couple of Danny's bones and using them to squash the scarabs, but they manage to overwhelm him and enter his body until his stomach explodes. It's just disgusting. They erupt out of his body. The scarab just laughs and is like, I win. three Green Lantern variants are then next to fight, and they decide that they're going to try and defeat Monarch. And the way they're going to do it is they're going to force Monarch to have to come into the ring, because they use their Green Lantern rings to block all the cameras so that Monarch can't watch the fight. So he enters the ring and they all charge up their Green Lantern rings and start fighting Monarch in an attempt to kill him. Monarch just obliterates one of their arms and smacks around the Green Lanterns all across the arena. One of them goes to punch Monarch in the face, but Monarch grabs his arm and then he shoots him in the face with a whole bunch of energy, causing Monarch's helmet to break off. Monarch's like, "No, you idiot! You ruptured my containment!" And a big explosion happens, which kills one of the Green Lanterns, severely injures the other one, but it's revealed that he's alive, and the remaining Green Lantern, who is okay, gets inducted into Monarch's army. The bodies of the other two Green Lanterns are dropped off where the variants all are, and one of Monarch's minions mentions that they need to get rid of the dead Batman bodies because they're starting to stink up the place. But then it's revealed that one of these Batmen is still alive because he's been turned into a vampire. He rips out the throat of one of these minions, and yeah, we get a shot of him in his vampire form. To be continued. It's revealed that Gotham by Gaslight Batman didn't die. Liberty Files Batman did become a vampire, and he attacks Gotham by Gaslight Batman, but he has a protective field around him, so it just bounces him off. He then teleports away to meet up with the other variants. The Supermen are still arguing with each other, and Red Sun Superman finds the device that Ted was working on, which turns out to be a vest that you can wear that allows you to hop between dimensions. Superman from Earth 31 also figures out that Monarch is probably a version of Captain Atom because he has similar powers, and the reason he doesn't want his face shown is because it looks exactly like the other Nathaniels, because that's who he is. And if they were to find out his identity, they would know his weakness because he may have the same weakness as they do. Monarch then shows up and teleports Starwoman and the two Starman variants away to the arena for them to fight. One of the Starman variants is a gorilla. I thought Cyborg was the only one, but this guy is a gorilla as well. And the other Starman is an alien and is willing to do anything in order to kill Monarch. So when he shows up in the arena, the gorilla Starman goes over to him to see if he's alright. And this Starman just blasts a beam of energy through Gorilla Starman, vaporizing the upper part of his body, killing him. He then tries to kill Starwoman, and as she struggles, in desperation, she blasts his head off with her staff. She's pretty torn up about this because she's never killed anyone before. She begs for forgiveness, and Monarch shows up and inducts her into his army, which is the worst outcome for her, because now she's gonna have to kill even more people. The vampire Batman shows up and says that they should give the Dimension Vest to Bridge, who is a version of Captain Atom, so that Bridge can travel through different dimensions, recruiting different versions of Captain Atom, bring them back here so that they can possibly destroy Monarch, because it might take multiple Captain Atoms to kill Monarch. While Bridge is off doing that, Vampire Batman plans on going deep down into the Bleed, because apparently thousands of stories below them is where Monarch is keeping a lot of the captives. A lot of the people that survived their battles are being kept below. So he's gonna grab a few people and go down there and save them. But not yet. Bridge teleports away to go searching for these different versions of Captain Atom, and the other characters decide to start fighting each other in order to distract Monarch when he shows up, so that he doesn't realize that Bridge is missing. Monarch shows up, breaks up the fight, and then teleports the Flashes away so that they can take part in their arena fight. One of them is Jay Garrick, one of them is Johnny Quick, the villainous Flash from Earth 3, and one of them is the Flash from the Tangent Universe. So she's only Flash in name. Her powers are completely different. She has light powers instead. Johnny Quick tries to kill her, but Jay comes in quickly and punches him in the face. But then she turns against Jay because she's willing to do anything in order to stop Monarch from killing her family. So she tries to kill Jay, but then Johnny Quick vibrates his hand through her chest, killing her. And he's a little gross about it too. It's like, quit napping, Twinkie. Let me and you go for a spin. Jay wakes up, he's like, you sick freak. Come on, Garrett, catch me if you can. Beat some justice into me. Jay chases after Johnny and throws his hat into Johnny, hitting him on the back of the head. He then punches Johnny in the face, knocking him over, and Johnny pretends to be in critical condition so that Jay will come over to him and take a look at him, because Jay doesn't kill people. And that's when Johnny's like, sucker, and vibrates his hand through Jay's throat, not killing him, but causing a blood clot in his throat that knocks him out. Johnny then says that once he's healed, he's going to finish Jay off, but he doesn't have time to do that because Monarch shows up and teleports him away. Vampire Batman decides that it's time to save the people captured below, so he heads off with a couple of people to do that, while the rest stay behind to distract Monarch. But Monarch shows up and knows exactly what they're doing and realizes that Bridge isn't there. So Superman's like, alright, we can stop pretending now, let's try and defeat Monarch. And so they all bum rush him and attack him, but he just beats the crap out of all of them. They just don't stand a chance. Again, they all try to fight Monarch and he just beats them super easily. He then teleports the Wonder Women away so that they can have their arena battle and heads off to go and watch it. The Wonder Women all fight each other in the arena, which ends with one of them getting their neck broken by another Wonder Woman, just smashes her in the neck, causing it to crack. So the two remaining Wonder Women battle it out to the point where they both pass out from exhaustion. That's how evenly matched they are. They beat each other up so much that they just pass out at the same time. But then one of them wakes up just as Monarch arrives, and so she gets inducted into his army, while the other one is presumably taken away to where all the other captives are being held. Meanwhile, on Earth 13, Bridge shows up, accompanied by a bunch of different versions of Captain Atom, in order to recruit another version of Captain Atom called Brigadier, or I don't know if it's supposed to say Brigadier or Brigadier, but they've spelt it wrong here. And we are left with a to be concluded in the next issue. Alright, so in the final issue, a lot happens, so bear with me as I try to explain it as well as I possibly can. Monarch states that he has his Batman and his Wonder Woman, and now he needs to figure out who is going to be his Superman. So like it or not, the three Supermen are going to have to fight each other in the arena, and one of them is going to have to come out on top. Like, at some point they will be forced to kill each other. So we have Russian Superman, the Dark Knight Returns Superman, and a Superman called Christopher Kent, who is all about energy and is very harmonic, almost monk-like in the way that he talks about energy and it being a part of everything. So they are teleported into the arena, and they all have different opinions when it comes to the fight. Russian Superman is ready to kill the both of them because he doesn't want his homeworld to be destroyed. Dark Knight Returns Superman doesn't want to kill anyone because it goes entirely against his code. And Christopher Kent doesn't want to kill them, but he sees it as a better idea for him to absorb them into himself, because apparently Christopher Kent has the ability to absorb people's energy and make them one with him to make him more powerful, and he sees that as a merciful way of killing these other two Supermen. So if he has to kill them, that's what he's gonna do. So Russian Superman and Dark Knight Superman begin fighting each other. Dark Knight Superman smashes Russian Superman through the bottom of the arena. They end up in the bleed, which is radioactive, and so the radiation starts killing them, but then Christopher Kent shows up and brings them back into the arena so that they don't die. Meanwhile, the Liberty Files Batman, who was turned into a vampire, and the two alternate versions of Captain Atom are breaking through the bottom levels of Monarch's base in order to find the captured heroes, which they have managed to do, it's revealed that the Tangent Flash is alive. Even though Johnny Quick vibrated his hand through her heart, apparently she's still alive because she's being held captive. But when they make it to the captives, Monarch shows up, destroys Liberty File Batman, and so the two Captain Atom variants face him in battle, and that's when it's revealed that everything that has happened so far was all planned by Monarch from the very beginning. Bridge being given the device and being sent off to find all the alternate versions of Captain Atom was always planned. Monarch planted the materials that Ted needed to build that device on purpose so that he would build it, and Bridge was always working for Monarch from the very beginning, so he was counting on them sending Bridge. The reason why Monarch wants Bridge to bring all the Captain Atoms to him is because he plans on killing them and then absorbing them to make himself more powerful. And as he says this, he destroys the two Captain Atom variants that are fighting him and absorbs their power into his body. The three Supermen continue fighting each other, and as they fight, Christopher Kent grows stronger and stronger and larger. His body grows with every hit that they give him. Dark Knight Superman picks up a large chunk of the ground and smashes it on top of Christopher Kent, which causes him to transform into his most powerful form, which is a form made entirely out of heat vision from the looks of it. And it turns out that they weren't actually trying to kill each other. They were fighting Christopher Kent on purpose so that he would attain this form because it might be powerful enough to destroy Monarch. So thank you, brothers. Now stand back. This is a job for the last son of Krypton. Come, Monarch, your fate awaits you. Hurrah! And he grabs Monarch and starts shooting him with his heat vision, and Monarch creates a shield around him in order to send the energies flying back at Christopher Kent. And Christopher Kent, having spent all of his energy, crumbles to pieces and dies. The remaining two Supermen then try to destroy Monarch, but Monarch just blasts him away with his energy because he's way too powerful. But that's when all of the Captain Atoms all show up, led by Bridge. The Captain Atoms and Superman all fight Monarch, but it doesn't really amount to much because Monarch is so powerful that he's just killing Captain Atoms left and right. Red Sun Superman is taken out by Monarch, leaving Dark Knight as the only remaining Superman left. But Bridge gives the dimensional vest to Dark Knight Superman and tells him to leave and find a way to get rid of all of Monarch's resources, or just do something that could possibly stop Monarch, while he stays behind and fights Monarch with the other Captain Atoms. So Superman grabs the vest and heads off to do God knows what, something we'll probably find out about in the main Countdown story. At this point, Monarch has killed every Captain Atom save for two. Bridge, and then an alternate version of Captain Atom inspired by the original Captain Atom. You haven't won yet, Monarch. Tries to attack Monarch, shooting him with blast of energy. Fall, damn you! Monarch just shoots a blast of energy at him, vaporizing this Captain Atom's arm. Captain, please. You're only still alive because I saved you for last. Once upon a time, I was exactly like you. It's like looking in a funhouse mirror. Look deeply, Captain. Do you see anything of yourself left inside me? Is there a spark of me growing somewhere inside of you? Burn in hell, you monster! Boom! And Monarch just blasts a whole ton of energy through this Captain Atom, killing him. He then turns to Bridge and says that Bridge is going to have to take the penalty for turning against him and helping Superman. And Bridge just answers him by saying, "What a strange life this is that I'm having." And Monarch says, "Not anymore," and blasts Bridge with his energy. "Everything I said I was going to do, I've done it!" And he absorbs all the powers of every single Captain Atom, becoming the most powerful version of Monarch possible. He then grabs the comatose Red Sun Superman and reveals that he will be the Superman in his squad of alternate reality superheroes that he was gathering together. Monarch heads off to go and check on his army of guards, but it's revealed that they've all been taken out by Dark Knight Superman, who left a nice little etching of his symbol in the wall for Monarch. How pleased you must be with yourself to steal from me my reserves. It is a Pyrrhic victory at best, Superman. I already have everything I need. He then blasts a hole through a nearby wall, and his squad of alternate variants come flying through it. The monitors are waiting. Let us make war. To be continued in the pages of Countdown. And so that's Countdown Arena. We end it with Monarch finally finishing recruiting the different variants that he's going to have on his squad. Will they actually show up in Countdown, or is this going to amount to absolutely nothing? I guess we'll find out when we continue reading Countdown, but until then, we got a lot more of these mini-series to get through before we get back to Countdown. Overall, I found Countdown Arena to be pretty mediocre. A lot of the fights don't really amount to much. It's a lot of over-the-top gore and stuff that I just wasn't really a fan of. It felt like if you took the Death Battle series on YouTube and turned it into a comic book. That's basically what Countdown Arena is. It's Death Battle, but just DC Comics. This miniseries definitely did not need to be 4 issues. It could have easily been done in 2 issues or 3. There's a lot of dialogue that is retreaded throughout this book over and over again. Whenever they're not fighting, they're just talking about the same stuff over and over. I think the biggest problem I had with Countdown Arena is that the book expects you to just know who all these variants are. I had to look up a lot of them to even know who they were, especially when some of them look very much alike. All you really need is a little text box just giving a quick summary of each variant so that I can understand who they are. I can imagine people reading this and just being confused. Like, who's that? Which version of Batman is that supposed to be? Why should I care? You know, I have no idea who Christopher Kent is. Why should I care about him sacrificing himself? At least tell me who he is. Give me a little bit of history about who he is. All they say about him is that he is the last son of Krypton, but that's every single version of Superman. He has a Lex Luthor kind of look to him in this, with the bald head, but they don't even try to explain what that even means. Was he raised by Lex Luthor? I don't know. Why does he have these weird energy powers that can transform him into energy? I have no idea, because the book doesn't explain it in any way. If making this miniseries 6 issues instead of 4, like most of the other miniseries to Countdown, would allow them to explain each of the variants and just give us a little introduction to them so that we know who they are, then I would have taken that. But 4 issues was just not enough for this level of ambition. But that's going to be it for this week. Tune in next week when I cover Lord Havoc and the Extremists, which is a 6-issue miniseries that takes place during Countdown. So we'll be covering that next week. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you then. Have a good one.